Right guys, welcome back to the channel, and it is another episode of Your Armies on Parade, and I've got a fantastic Tyranids army on show today by Mr. Travis Watts. Travis, welcome to the channel.
Hello, thank you very much for having me.
Not a problem. Now, if you haven't guessed, Travis is located in Australia, so a massive time difference between us. We've tried all week to try and match this up, but we're finally getting it. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, Travis. How long have you been gaming? Where do you game and things like that?
Well, I'm probably one of those people who wanted to get into 40k a long time before I actually did, and I never sort of bothered to until I met a friend of mine who was right into it. And the conversation started over painting, and then that's where I decided that I was going to take the plunge and buy an army. I had no idea what I was buying. I literally walked into Game Traders over here in Australia, and they sell a little bit of Games Workshop stuff. And I had a Tyrant on the shelf, and I picked it up and thought, oh, that looks pretty cool. And at that stage, this was my mindset, is that I could have all the units of all the armies in one army. That was how I thought. So it was literally, oh, I'll just buy this one first, and maybe next week I'll just buy a tank, and I had no clue. And then I sent the picture to my friend, and I said, oh, are these cool? And he's like, oh yeah, get into Tyranids. And I really didn't know what he was talking about. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay, a Tyranid, all right, cool. And so I ended up building the Swarm Lord, and then I said to him, oh, I'm going to buy some of these little men, and I was looking at Space Marines, right? And he's like, oh, they won't go with the Tyranid. And I was like, what do you mean they won't go with my Tyranid? Can't I just build an army? And he's like, no, it doesn't work like that. So after getting all the explanations out the way, that was how I settled on getting a Tyranid army, I guess.
By pure accident.
Yeah, literally pure accident. And I was more in it for the painting side of things, I guess, rather than anything else at that stage. And even to this day, I'm not lying, I have never ever played a game of 40k.
Wow, that's amazing.
Never. Yep, I'm still to actually put this army on the table. I've got my codexes and everything, and I sit down and I read the rules, and I sort of have a bit of an understanding on the game. But where I am, my closest game workshop where I could actually go in and learn is probably about half an hour away, which I don't know, may not sound like lots, but yeah, half an hour drive just to get my guys on the table and sort of sit down.
Yeah.
And learn how to play. So
it's kind of the same for me. I'm stuck in the middle of about like 3 or 4 towns, so I've got to travel like 30 minutes in each direction. I'm fortunate if I've got a table at home. But yeah, even Battle Bunker, where I play, of course, who sponsors the channel, they're about a 35-minute drive away. I challenge you, a personal challenge to you. Even if it's just on your kitchen table or something, you need to play a game by the end of the year.
Yeah, that's my goal.
So
it was my goal to start playing already, but the models just keep coming.
Yeah, I know all too well about that. So obviously, you mentioned there that you kind of thought about picking up some Space Marines or some tanks or something. Do you actually collect any other armies?
At this point, no. I've been given. I've got a few Chaos Marines here that I've been given by a friend of mine, and he just didn't want them, because he's got a ridiculous 40k collection. He's got probably, I'd say, at least an army of almost everything. The only thing he doesn't have is orcs, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm missing orcs, sisters. Of course, I've got Blood Angels and Deathwatch, so I don't really count the other Marines. And my Gene Stealer kind of double as guard, so I'm almost in the same situation.
Yeah, He's just got too many to count. So he basically gave me a tackle box full of bits and pieces, which was 90% Tyranid.
Awesome.
Said, here, have some bits, and he sort of threw some doubles my way from the chaos as well. So I haven't actually looked at collecting anything just because it's taken me so long to paint the army that I've got. I think I started this army in April, May, June 2016.
Wow.
Yeah.
But,
so it's been a pain.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just said it's been a long time.
Yeah.
I'm painting these guys up. So
yeah.
And they've gone through several color schemes.
Right. That's actually my next question. How did you choose a color scheme that you've now gotten to? And I remember you mentioned on the Facebook page as well that you don't use GW paints to get the sort of metallic effect. So talk us through how you chose those colors and how you actually achieve the effect that you've got.
Yeah. Originally, when I first started painting this army, I didn't have a color scheme in mind. I kind of looked at them and thought, oh, what would look cool? And unfortunately, I failed at that and ended up painting my Tyrant. And you'll see him. Sorry, my Swarm Lord. You'll see him. He's got blue, and it sort of transitions into a purple.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh, that's going to be my skin tone for all of them. And then I sort of got a little lost because I started looking at the GW style of painting and how it's sort of, it's very flat, I guess, and there's a lot of sort of blush streaking and things like that on carapace and stuff. And so when I got to his carapace, I painted it red, and I put like yellow highlights and things on it, and it just looked really tacky. Mm-hmm. And I just couldn't pull it off. So I went back to the drawing board and thought, oh, I'm just gonna paint them, I'm just gonna paint them my style. And originally I then still kept, I dropped the blue and just kept the purple, and the carapace was actually a teal color, and it looked okay, but it wasn't quite what I wanted. And then I just started playing around with greens, and I sort of went from like this sort of flat green, and then I started playing with some alclad colors that I've got here, and then all of a sudden I ended up with this metallic, opaque, sort of really vibrant green. And I thought, oh wow, that's great. How can I add to it? And then I went and sprayed some holometric chrome over it, and it flattened the green off, but it gave it this like real rainbow effect.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of liked it, sort of didn't, and I ended up painting half my army in that style. But then I dropped the holometric chrome and just went back to the green, and that's kind of how I ended up where I am.
Awesome.
So it's been a weird sort of transition for colours, I guess.
I do love the really bright purple and pink, and then of course the green. It really pops and stands out and makes them look, I don't want to say candy nids, but very kind of, not,
yes,
sour's not the right word, but very, I don't know how to describe it, but they really do stand out and they look fantastic.
I know what you're saying. I've had people refer to them as like 80s synth nids and disco nids and all sorts of things. And that was my idea, was to get something that didn't look like I guess traditional.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen so many variations of the standard fleet colors, and where people swap flesh color for carapace color and all of those things, and there's plenty of purple and green armies out there.
Yeah.
But I just sort of decided, well, I know these things are sort of, I'm not going to say bugs, but I guess, yeah, they're space bugs, really, aren't they? So, yeah, I don't know, and it just ended up with that metallic-y, I don't know, almost semi-mechanical.
Yeah.
Because I was sort of, when I was painting them, I was also looking at the guns, and I didn't realize that the ammunition was also living. I just assumed that it was, I know they had some sort of internal magazine / firing lasers or something like that. And so I was sort of thinking, well, can I put chrome on them? Because chrome, I enjoy putting chrome on bits and pieces. And you'll see the acid sprayer on my Tyranids has got chrome teeth on it.
Yeah.
And there's a few other bits and pieces that are chrome as well on a few of my Carnifex. And so it sort of got me thinking about this biomechanical / something else sort of species where, they've been through, other Xenos worlds and consumed and sort of, I don't know, just changed a little. And it's not, I don't want to take away that full, biological warfare that they've got, but instead just sort of, maybe change the attributes of, the way some of their flesh looks. Like there might be, some metallic elements or something in with the bone or something like that. And that's sort of where it came from.
Excellent. So out of everything that you've painted so far, and what is your favourite model? And this doesn't just necessarily mean to paint. When you look at a model and think, he looks so cool, which one's your favourite?
That's a really, really hard question to answer because I enjoy a lot of the aspects about all of them, but for some reason I have this soft spot for Carnifexes.
Yeah.
Because they're just so tanky and grunty, and they've got lots of little different things on them that you can change, paint, and stuff like that. And when you have when you've built a Carny and and he's all painted up, and they just look fantastic. There's really great shape to them, and it really sort of I don't know, I could sort of visualize them standing on top of a broken tank or something, and just snarling and growling and just wanting to run off and demolish a whole host of other different things as well.
Like a literal rabid beast.
Yeah, pretty much. And my old One Eye that I got, I decided that I would paint him fairly traditional in the behemoth colours, just because that was sort of his backstory. And so I decided to paint him completely separate to my fleet, and I put him on a different base, and I've got him standing over like a sort of an acid pool, and he just sort of looks like he's got it, his head's sort of on an angle, and it looks like he's sort of ready for war.
Yeah.
And that's the only compromise that I made to painting something outside of the traditional hive colours.
Yeah. Speaking of the acid pool on the base, your bases are great. I don't know how you've done them, but you've kind of like tinted the sand to one colour or another, depending on the crystals that you've actually put on as well. Like obviously with Old One Eye there, you've got kind of the blue tinge on the front. With the Tyranids and stuff, you've got kind of the green around the side of the crystals. And I love the cracks that you've got going through the sort of red earthy sand. How did you decide to do that?
I wanted them to be standing on something that was just completely alien, and sort of, I guess, reflect where they're from. So the bases that they're standing on, in my mind, are probably their home planet. So they're all standing where they would be, where they come from. Those bases I actually scratch built out of several sheets of acrylic, just a clear acrylic sheet, and I cut them with a hold saw, and then I drew onto the top sheet, just with a permanent marker where I wanted the cracks to, and then I just cut them out with a Dremel and glued them together, and that formed the cracks, and then I just painted them up from there.
Excellent, and you can see that if you look at the bottom of the Tyranids that you've sent, the picture at the back, you can actually see that where the crack is, where his foot is as well. Looks really, really effective. What do you use for the crystals?
All of the crystals are actually quartz.
Right.
And my earlier models, they're just literally like quartz shards straight out the ground. And they're not tumbled. And they're just literally just sprayed with acrylic paint, and then I just finish off with a dry brush, and like I might sort of like dry brush just some like some shine effect on them or something like that. My later models, like the that you see there, like the little ones, they actually are just tumbled quartz, so they're shiny when I get them, and then all I do is just spray them with a paint in order to try and keep that transparency of the gemstone itself.
Awesome. Little question, a little bit different from obviously painting in the hobby. When you are painting and hobbying and stuff, what do you have on in the background? Do you watch TV shows? Do you listen to music? Do you listen to podcasts? What do you listen to when you sat painting?
Oh, I have this little habit of watching a show called Ghost Adventures.
Right.
I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's American, and it's literally it's just these guys basically going into buildings and like investigating paranormal sort of stuff. And I don't know what it is about it. I just find it hilarious, and it gives me a real bit of a kick. I just, have a laugh at it, and that's usually what's going on in the background.
Fair enough. The next question, I mean, obviously, I know you haven't played any games, but when you look at, you said you've got the codex, when you look through the codex, what rules or combos or stratagems do you look at and think, that's going to be so cool to do that? For example, one that a lot of people use, and I'm referencing this because you've got Tyranids, is the slime one that increases the damage by 1.
Yep.
When you look through the rules and the stratagems, what do you think? I think that would be so cool to do that.
I guess a lot of the ruling that's sort of around synapse and actually having like units that will benefit from telekinesis and those sorts of things. I like the whole idea of being able to, if a unit comes off the table, there's a chance that the enemy units are also going to suffer as well. So, and you'll have to forgive me, and I'm not 100% up to speed with a lot of the combos and benefits that can go along with these units as well.
No, not a problem. I think one that you might be referring to there is the Tyranid Turbogon. When the Turbogon dies, it backlashes and kills a lot of the termagants around it. The psychic backlash rule, I think.
That could be the one. And what was the other unit? No, it slipped me. I remember reading something the other night. I was just sort of reading through some of the rules and looking at what units do, because I didn't really plan my army. I just literally went out and bought like that. Do you remember the large swarm box?
Yes.
Yep. I literally just walked in and went, I want one of those, and that's where it started. So I've got termagants, I've got everything sort of sitting there, and come with the Carnifex and obviously the other bits and pieces that came with. And so I've got all of that, and then I didn't really have a direction, so I didn't understand the difference between one weapon or another.
Right.
So I built my kits, and like all of my first kits were all built to what I thought looked good, and it's kind of, I don't think it's kind of shafted me because, I mean, I don't really expect to play in like full-blown competition,
Yeah.
you know, where people are in it for, let's say, pink slips. I guess I'm sort of, for a while I'll probably just be a guy who plays beer hammer.
Right. Yeah.
You know, pretty casual, you know, willing to learn the rules, you know, as I go, and just sort of, I don't know, not take it super seriously.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my friends who play it, they're sort of at that, you know, they don't really take it that seriously either, and I guess I've sort of learnt off of them, like the attitude that I'll have.
Yeah, it's a good mindset to be in.
Yeah, but I do watch a lot of people, you know, especially who play in the CBD and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and you know the things they know and the rules that they know, and just off the tops of their head is just,
Yeah.
it'd take me years to know that, I think.
I can relate to that because obviously having as many armies as I do, and I have to try and remember most of it. But it's not easy, especially when you're obviously just starting out. It's not easy to learn your first army, so I totally get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
With your Tyranid army, then obviously you said you pretty much bought what you think looks cool rather than what necessarily is good on the tabletop. What's next for the army? What do you fancy picking up next?
Okay. So since I've picked up codexes and joined like several Facebook pages and actually looked at what's going on, I have actually started tuning my army. I've been looking at a lot of YouTube videos, and you know, a lot of guys saying, if you're going to run Tyranids, you know, this is your core army, this is what you're going to need. You know, your Venom throats, your Hive Guard, you know, make sure you've got some of those, and you know, depending on how you want to play and how you're going to set them up, you know, get those units that you need when it comes to fluff, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I just bought a Tyrannocyte.
Right.
That I'm going to do up in a Spore Assist that I'm going to do.
Right.
And I need to get just one more set. Well, at this stage, one more set of Hive Guard. I've got 3 here. I've made 1 box. I need to get another box.
Dropping 6 Hive Guard in a Tyrannocyte.
Yeah, well,
it's good. It's good. I need 3 more Hive Guard to be able to do that because I've only got 3, but it's definitely good. And then of course using the stratagem to let them shoot again is brutal.
Yeah. So, and I've got I'm trying to hunt down some bodies because I actually want to make the Venom throats as well that I've got here, because I made all the bodies and everything and realised that, you know, you don't get all the bits.
Yep.
Do you? Never all the bits.
Nope.
So I'm just trying to locate some chests and tails, so I can make up the Venoms that go with it.
I actually built the Venom throats with mine and kit bashed the zone throats. What I actually used was the left arm of like heavy venom cannons and stuff off the Tyrannofex. So I used like the sack piece as kind of the stomach. So with a little bit of green stuff, I could actually make them up.
I see.
So it might be worth looking at that if you're not frightened to use green stuff. But that's what I did. So I actually built three zone throats and venom throats out with 1 kit by using the spare like venom cannon sacks and stuff.
See, that's a fantastic idea. I've seen plenty of different kit bashes, and I'm still, you know, I'm gathering plenty of bits and pieces.
Yeah.
With the parts that I don't use, and hopefully I'll eventually have enough. But yeah, that's a great idea. I didn't actually really think about that.
Yeah, some people do it, some people don't like to do it, and some people like go out and buy Raveners, and it's just like, fair enough, but you might as well have just bought the Venom throats again.
Yeah, well, it takes a lot of the work out of it then, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I've got one more question for you.
Sure.
If money was no question, right, and you could walk into Games Workshop and just pick whatever you wanted off the shelf, an entire army, any models from their range or anything, what army would you pick and why would you choose it?
Hmm. I think, realistically, I would honestly buy. I would have at least one, if not two, of everything, from my Tyranids, because I just enjoy the idea of them. To be honest, they're just, I don't know, like reading back through the Tyranid wars and just they've got no, I don't know. There's, yes, in a match on a table, you can win or you can lose, but when you look at the novels and read just how destructive and how powerful they really are, and the human loss that goes along with just a single invasion, they just seem to be the ultimate alien predator, because they don't want anything.
They just want to eat.
Except, they just want to consume.
They are not technically evil.
No, they're just this entity.
Yeah.
And but I think obviously the galaxy, is a huge place, so it's not like they're going to run out of food anytime soon. But I think to myself, what happens once there's nothing left?
Then Necrons live.
Yeah.
No, I haven't read it yet. I do have it here, but a lot of people are telling me to read The Devastation of Baal, obviously being a massive Blood Angel fan. Basically, Baal is almost gone, and most of the Blood Angel chapter gets destroyed. So I don't know whether you've read that.
I haven't read that, but because there's just such a great a cutout, I guess, of that in the Tyranid Codex itself.
Yes.
It's really good to read the Codex and then go, oh, I just want to read the novels. It does.
Are you referencing the scene where Dante puts his axe straight through the middle of a Swarmlord's head?
Yes.
Yes. And on table he absolutely sucks.
Yeah, and there's just such a great these little cutaways, and you're like, oh, there's got to be more to this, and it does. It really just sucks you in, and it's such a great, it's a good place to start, especially for someone like me who, I've wanted to get into 40k for years even, but never had anyone to play with or never knew anyone, and then to bump into these people now, and I've been painting in other areas for about 7 years. So, but I'd never ever picked up a miniature ever, and that was, I thought, oh, I'll just do it. I'm just going to do it, and if I don't like the game, at least I'll enjoy painting them. So it caters for all of my needs, all in one hit.
Excellent. Well, that's the end of today's episode. Travis, thank you very, very much for joining me. It's been a pleasure to get someone's perspective who's more interested in the fluff and painting as opposed to gaming, so thank you very much for that.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me and spending the time talking to me.
Not a problem. So if anyone is interested, Travis, of course, is in the Tyranid group on Facebook. There is lots and lots of pictures in there, not just obviously what I've showcased as well. But obviously go and give him a shout out and check his army out. But thanks again, Travis.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
No worries. Thanks very much, and thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you again very soon.